Hi boys, it's Mommy. I bought this book for you because the other day we were talking about people who went around the world, either in a boat or a car or a plane, and you guys both mentioned, Sid and Fred, that Amelia Earhart did it, but we didn't know what happened to her because no one knew among us, and we thought maybe she flew into a tree, but I don't really think that that's the right answer. So I have this book now for you, and I'm going to read it to you so that you can learn what happened to her. I haven't read it yet, so I still don't know. Ready? I'm Amelia Earhart. When I was little, people told me that girls should wear dresses and play with dolls. They said we shouldn't have unladylike adventures. I disagree. In fact, when I was 7 years old, my sister and I decided to build our own roller coaster in our backyard. We placed 2 planks of wood up against the side of our tool shed. The cab was a wooden packing box with roller skate wheels attached to the bottom. We greased the wood with lard so we'd move super fast. Amelia, are you sure this is a good idea? This isn't a good idea. This is the best idea. I know someone named Sid who would say something like that. Of course I got to ride first. This was my moment. Here we go. In 1, 2, 3. I still remember the wind in my face. My stomach seemed to sink. I was flying. Did you see her? Oh, there she's flying. Amelia Earhart, take it apart this instant. The grandma came out and yelled. This crash was loud and noisy and messy. It certainly wasn't ladylike, but it was awesome. That was awesome. It wasn't the last time I would fly. As I got older, I went to many air shows. When I was 23 years old, but still a kid at heart, my dad took me to meet Frank Hawks, a man who would eventually set many of his own flight records. Are you ready? I'm ready. For $10, Hawks agreed to take me on my very first flight. For 10 minutes, we flew through the sky and out over the Pacific Ocean. By the time I was 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew one thing. I had to fly. To save for my flying lessons, I worked as a truck driver, which also wasn't ladylike. Move it, Mac! A stenographer, which is a fancy schmancy word for someone who writes down, a stenographer, which is a fancy schmancy word for someone who writes down what people say. And even a photographer. Say snook! 6 months after I learned to fly, I bought a bright yellow used biplane that I named Canary. Canary's a cool name for a plane, right? This is my instructor, a woman named Netta Snook. That's her real name. But here's my secret. I wasn't a natural. I wasn't the best pilot. I just worked harder than anyone else. That's enough for flying today. No, I can do better. One more flight. More important, like the day of the roller coaster, I dared to do what so many said couldn't be done. A girl flying across the Atlantic? Amelia, you sure this is a good idea? This isn't a good idea. It's the best idea. I became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and then the first woman to fly by myself across the Atlantic Ocean. By then, people took boats to get to Europe, sailing for weeks. Planes were still a new thing. In fact, on the day I took off, one magazine ran an article that said women would never be able to fly that far. But I did. To do it, I had to fly for 14 hours and 56 minutes with no rest, no break. Sometimes the sun was so blinding I could barely see where I was going. This is awesome. In the process, I also broke the record for crossing the ocean in the shortest time, doing it faster than any man or woman ever. In October 1922, I broke the woman's altitude record by rising to 14,000 feet. And in July 1930, I set a speed record of over 181 miles per hour. Then I broke an altitude record, which is just a fancy schmancy way of saying I went higher than anyone else. How high did I go? About 12 Empire State Buildings straight up at a time when no woman had ever gone that high. In my life, I took many flights. Every single time there was someone who said that I wouldn't be able to do it. Never let anyone stop you. Whenever your dream is, chase it. Work hard for it. You will find it. It is the best lesson I can give you. I am Amelia Earhart. I know no bounds, and I hope you'll remember that the greatest flight you'll ever take is the one no one has ever tried before. How awesome is that? So she didn't fly around the world, she flew across the Atlantic Ocean, the fastest and the highest, and I think there was one more thing. Fastest, highest, and I'm going to let you figure out what the third thing was. I love you, boys. Kisses. Bye, babies. Hi, boys. One more thing before I stop this YouTube video. I want all three of you to know that I am super proud of you. And Freddie, you have been doing so well in soccer. I think you're the best teammate ever, and you're so good in school, and you're so good to your friends. And this weekend, even if you don't get a goal, that doesn't mean anything. You've been such a good player, and your heart is so big, and your eyes are so beautiful, and all of that stuff is more important than any goal. And Sydney, I loved watching you play soccer this year. It is the best thing to watch you do any sport because you're so intense and you're so hard at work every single time. Just like Amelia Earhart said, just work hard at what you do. And Nate, you have the best smile under the sun, and you make everyone happy around you, and everything you do is happy. And I love that about all three of you. Kisses, babies.